Classical Roots Lesson 1 is all about motion. So a lot of the words that you're going to be learning in today's lesson have to do with motion. And for this lesson, you are going to need your root card and 10 note cards. The first root that we're learning is per, and the definition of per is through. The next 4 words that we're going to be learning are going to use this root, the root per. On your root card, you'll notice that per is the first root that's listed. So indicate on the root card that this is lesson 1, and then you can write the definition, which is through. The first word that we're going to be making a note card for and learning is permeate. Permeate is a verb, and it means to penetrate through spaces or to spread throughout. Now you're going to need to make a note card for permeate, so we're going to look at the front of the note card first. All you have to do to start is just write the word on the front of the note card. The second step is going to be to underline the root per in the word permeate. So this one's pretty easy. It's right at the beginning. So go ahead and underline per. And then also on the front of the note card, to remind yourself of the definition of per, write per equals through at the bottom. And this completes the front of your note card. If you flip your note card over to the back, you're going to need to divide it into 4 sections. You could do this by folding your note card to make sure that the boxes are equal. In the upper left-hand box is where we're going to write the definition. Mine looks like this. So the definition is to penetrate through spaces. In the upper right-hand box is where we're going to write the part of speech. So looking back at the slide here, permeate is a verb. So in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to write verb, which means it's an action word. In the lower left-hand box, we are going to draw a visual to remind us of what permeate means. These visuals don't have to be anything fancy. For mine, I'm going to draw a cookie that smells, and the smell is kind of permeating or spreading throughout. And then in the final box, the lower right-hand box, is where you're going to come up with your own sentence that uses the word. If you're having trouble coming up with your own sentence, you can always look in your Classical Roots workbook. And right now we're working on the words on page 4. So if you wanted to follow along in your workbook, you could look at page 4. And the definition, or the sentence in the book, says that pollution from automobiles and smokestacks permeates the air in many cities. The sentence that I'm going to create goes along with my visual. The smell of fresh baked cookies permeated through the entire house. And notice how I underlined the word permeated in my sentence, since that's the word we're working with here. We're going to move on to our second word. This word also uses the root per, and the word is percussion, which you may know this word or you may have heard this word before. Percussion is a noun or an adjective, and it means the sharp sound of one thing striking against another, or it could be the name of an instrument that makes a sound when it is struck. We're going to need to make a note card for percussion as well. So you're going to write the word percussion on the front of your note card, and you're going to need to underline per, which again is right at the beginning of the word. And then on the bottom of the front of your note card, you're going to write the root per equals the definition, which is through. If you flip your note card over, you can divide it into the 4 sections again. And as a reminder, in the upper left-hand corner of the note card is where we are going to write the definition. So in the upper left-hand corner, go ahead and choose one of these 2 definitions to write down. In the upper right-hand corner is where we're writing the part of speech. For this one, you'll want to write noun and adjective, since percussion can be used as either. In the lower left-hand square is where you're going to draw a visual. And then just like it shows here, the lower right-hand square is where you're going to compose your own sentence using the word percussion. Again, on page 4 of your workbook, the sentences that are used might be good ones to get you started thinking. The familiar percussion of wood on leather let us know that baseball practice had begun. Percussion in an orchestra includes drum, cymbals, timpani, xylophone, and piano. Small children use kitchen pots and pans as percussion instruments. You can write your own sentence. Now that we've got the hang of making our note cards, I'm going to go through the next 8 words fairly quickly. So at any point, if you need to pause the video so that you can catch up with making your note cards, that might be a good idea. From here on out, I'm going to show the format of the note cards on the slide, so you can be making the note cards as you're looking at the information. The next word, the third word, again still using the root per, is perennial. Perennial is an adjective, and it means lasting for an indefinitely long time or continuing regularly. It could also mean living longer than 2 years, and this word oftentimes is used in reference to plants or flowers. If you're a gardener, you might know that the opposite of a perennial plant is an annual plant, which means that it only grows for one season. A perennial plant grows every single year, so every spring it'll bloom again, which goes right along with our definition, which is continuing or lasting a long time. And as you can see, I have a picture of Michael Jordan on this slide to kind of indicate that he had a very long-lasting career. In your book, a sentence is that Mother Goose rhymes have remained perennial favorites with children, meaning over and over again for a really long time, Mother Goose stories have been popular. A perennial remark of parents is, things were different when I was your age. So that's a saying that continues regularly that parents use a lot. So go ahead and make sure you're making a note card for that. And we're going to move on to the next word, which is persevere. Persevere is a verb, and it means to hold fast to a task or purpose despite handicaps or obstacles. So it means to continue and not give up even if you're facing some hardships. I'm going to move on, but if you need to pause here to make your note card, please do. We're actually moving on to a new root. So you're going to need to get your root card out again. And the definition for this set of roots is to bring, to bear, or to carry. You do need to know all 4 of these variations of the root because they might appear on your quiz independent from the others. So make sure that you know all of them. And if you take a look at your root card, you'll see they're all listed there, and you can write that this is lesson 1. And they mean to bring, to bear, to carry. The first word that uses this root is defer. Defer is a verb, and it means to postpone or to delay. It can also mean to yield respectfully to the opinion or will of another. Now, this one is a little bit trickier to recognize where the root is in the word. So if you're having trouble, you can look back at the roots and you'll see that both Pharaoh and Fairy use F-E-R, which is also in defer. So you're actually going to underline F-E-R on the front of your note card. Few ideas for sentences that are in your workbook now on page 5. Schools and colleges sometimes defer admission, accepting students later in the year. If you have a question about something, you may defer to your teacher, meaning you would sort of ask your teacher and yield your opinions and ask an expert. Again, pause if you need to, but we're going to move on to the sixth word, which is dilatory. Dilatory is an adjective, so it's a describing word, and it means tending to delay or postpone. Very similar to the definition for defer, but you'll notice they're different parts of speech. So whereas defer would be used as a verb, dilatory is used as an adjective, and that's how you can tell the difference. Whereas defer's definition is to postpone or to delay, dilatory's definition is tending to postpone or delay. So make sure you note that difference on your note card. This one is also pretty tricky to recognize the root in the word, but if you look at the different options, the different variations, you'll see that latum has an L-A-T, just like the middle of dilatory. So you can underline the L-A-T in the middle of dilatory on the front of your note card. Continuing on, our next word is elation. Elation is a noun, and elation is excited feelings of pride, triumph, or happiness. Oftentimes, this word is used in its adjective form, which is elated. You could describe yourself as being elated at great news. An example of a sentence from your workbook is, many Americans felt elation when astronauts took their first steps on the moon. The eighth word we're learning, and the final word that uses this set of roots, is infer. Infer is a verb, and it means to use available evidence to form a conclusion or to guess. And you've probably heard a form of this word before. If your teacher ever asks you to make an inference, it's a form of infer, and it means to take an educated guess based on evidence. In your book, the sentence that they use is, you can't infer that people have talent just because they are celebrities. Feel free to pause again at any time if you need more time on your note cards. There's one more root that we're learning in this lesson, tendo, and it means to stretch. So again, take out that root card. You'll see it's the third one down. You can write that it's from lesson 1, and it means to stretch. The last two words that you're making note cards for this lesson will use the root tendo. The first is contend. Contend is a verb, and it means to engage in a quarrel, a struggle, or a rivalry. It can also mean to put forward an argument. So a doctor might contend that all children should be vaccinated, and that would mean that they're putting forward an argument. I like to think of the word contest when I see the word contend, because if you're in a contest, you're competing against somebody, which is similar to the definition. And the last word that we're going to learn for lesson 1 that you'll need to make a note card for is intent. Intent can be a noun or an adjective, and it means purpose or concentrating on or dedicated to an idea or action. The intent of Christopher Columbus was to find a new sea route to Asia from Europe. Instead, he found a new continent. Girls who were intent upon joining Little League teams won the right to do so in a 1974 court decree. So those are all 10 words that you need to know for lesson 1. You should have 10 note cards that follow the format that's shown right here, and you should have 3 root definitions written on your card. Thanks for listening.